Parshas Nitzavim-Vayelech. This week's Parsha begins with a description of the assembly that Moshe organizes. It's the last day of his life. It's the end of his parting speech. And he gathers all of Israel together to hear his words. This is Perek Tes, Pasuk Tes. That's 29:9. This is the opening verse of the Parsha. We'll continue with subsequent verses as well. Atem nitzavim hayom kulchem lifnei Hashem Elokechem. You are all standing here today, all of you, before the Lord your God. Lifnei Hashem Elokechem, Roshechem, Shiftechem, Ziknechem, Vishotrechem, Kol Ish Yisrael. Your leaders, your grand leaders, your tribal leaders, your elders, your officers, every person of Israel. Next verse. Tapchem, Nishechem, V'gercha Asher B'kerev Machanecha. Your children, your women, the converts or the strangers who are amongst you. Mechotei Veitzecha Ad Sho'ev Meimecha. From the woodchoppers to the drawers of water, the water boys. What's the purpose of this assembly? To cause you to enter into the covenant with God. This is it's an additional covenant. The Mefarshim explain, the rabbis say that this covenant comes after the brachos and the kolos, after the blessings and the curses, and it's a covenant that contains within it an element of responsibility, of arevus, of mutual responsibility among the children of Israel, each one for the other, both in terms of their physical needs and also in terms of their spiritual needs and their deficiencies and how we're each responsible for everyone else. Okay, why all of this detail? The verse would have conceptually contained exactly what it needed to. That is, that everybody was there, had it just said, you are all here. Atem nitzavim hayom kulchem lifnei Hashem Elokechem. You are all before the Lord your God. It could have also concluded with Kol Ish Yisrael, every person of Israel. Why do we need to get into describing what appears to be the highest ranking members of society and the lowliest? Okay, they were there, but why do they need to be specified? So we have another question besides this. We'll address this one. And there's also this recurring word, this apparently theme of hayom, today. Atem nitzavim hayom kulchem lifnei Hashem Elokechem. And then it goes on, Asher Hashem Elokecha korei simcha hayom. You are standing today, that God is entering into, or you're entering into a covenant with God today. L'man hokim oscha hayom. This is the next verse. Said he will establish you today. Lo la'am v'yelech lelokim. It goes on. Yudalet ki asher yeshno po imanu omed hayom lifnei Hashem Elokechem. This asher inenu po imanu hayom. The word hayom shows up, which means this day, today. It shows up 13 times in just in Nitzavim alone. What's this notion of hayom? So Rav Moshe Shternbuch suggests that the detail about Roshechem, Shiftechem, Ziknechem, V'Shatrechem, Mechotei Veitzecha Ad Sho'ev Meimecha, this entire gamut, this spectrum is specified. Why? It's to show that regardless of the societal value, the value that society places on different positions and different people, in the eyes of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, we are all Kol Ish Yisrael. We are simply Jews. The standing within the community has certain significance, but in terms of appearing before God, you are who God created, and you have a responsibility based on who you are, not based on who someone else is. So every person has a unique calculus, and Rav Shternbuch actually ties this into the usage, the recurring usage of the word hayom, specifically in this verse, the Zohar, he quotes the Zohar, who says that this day is an allusion to Rosh Hashanah. That is the day. As a matter of fact, that hayom shows up in Rosh Hashanah as well. There's a song that different shuls sing in different ways. Hayom, 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 hayom tamseinu, hayom tevarchenu, hayom tegadleinu. There's this recurring theme of hayom, today. What is it about today? So Rav Shternbuch says that when we are approaching Rosh Hashanah, we could have, there are all kinds of mind games that we play with ourselves, or eitzos of the Yitzhahara. The Yitzhahara, the evil inclination, takes shots at us as we go through this. And one of the pitfalls of position is that a person might think, he might believe that he's better than everyone else because he sits in the front of the shul, or he has a position of status, a person of stature. So he might think that he doesn't have quite the same obligation to do tshuva as the ordinary person, the common man who perhaps works with his hands or draws water, chops wood, etc. And so that's on the one hand. On the other hand, the person of the lower status may feel, who am I really? Who am I to come before God? Who am I to entreat God, especially when I compare myself to these other important people? I'm a nobody. So that could be either that feeling of being a nobody could mean it doesn't make a difference what I do, I'm still going to be a nobody. Or it could be that God's really not going to notice me because who am I? I'm insignificant. And this verse, according to Moshe Shternbuch, is telling us, no, everyone is equal standing before the Almighty. In fact, the Rashi quotes a medrash that says that Moshe Rabbeinu says, Atem Nitzavim. Nitzavim doesn't just mean standing. We translate it standing, but it means standing firm. It means standing in anticipation of doing something. And he says, quoting the medrash, Harbe hichastem lamokom v'lo eschem kloya, v'arei atem kayomim lefonav. You angered the Almighty, but He didn't destroy you, and you're still standing in front of Him. In other words, no matter what you think about yourself, you have standing, and you are here. And you have the capability of surviving and even thriving. So now, this notion of Hayom takes on a sense of the day of reckoning, if you will, the day of Rosh Hashanah. Now, Moshe Feinstein observes that the word is actually superfluous from a logical perspective. It's implicit. The present tense is implicit in Atem Nitzavim. You are standing. Kulchem lifnei Hashem Elokecha. All of you before God. You don't need the word Hayom at all to carry on the meaning of the sentence. And he suggests that one of the other themes of this parsha is Bechira, Ubacharta B'chaim. The verse at the very end of the Torah says, it says, Haidosi b'chem hayom. This is in Perek Lamed, Pasuk Yutes, that's 30:19. Haidosi b'chem hayom. I testify about you today, again, hayom. As Hashemayim v'esartz, I bring as my witnesses the everlasting heavens and the earth. Hachayim v'amaves nasati lefonecha, habracha v'klala. I have given before you life and death, blessing and curse. Ubacharta b'chayim. Choose life so that you and your children will live. And Moshe says that Hayom is a crucial factor in the notion of choosing, of choice, of free will, of Bechira. Hayom. Why? Because a person may have conducted himself in such a way that when he arrives at the day, whether the day is Rosh Hashanah or otherwise, he may say, you know what, it's too late. It's farfallen. It's too late to change course. And he says it's not too late. Every day is Bechira day. Every day is, if you will, election day. We elect how we will conduct our lives. And we don't necessarily do it in grand ways, but we do it in very little ways. And every day has myriad opportunities, challenges of choosing. And when we choose, we exercise our unique human moral ability to control our own destiny and our existence. And Hashem says in this week's parsha, I'm testifying. Choose, I'm placing before you good and bad, life and death. Choose life so that you will live and your children. And classic Moshe Feinstein, says that a person can choose to do the right thing, but he can do it with what we might call today an attitude, which is, okay, I'll do it, but I'm not going to be happy about it. And Moshe says that if a person chooses to do the right thing for the right reasons, it's laudable. But if he communicates to those around him that it's really quite an effort to do the right thing, as some say is schwer zu sein Yid. It's hard to be a Jew. It's hard to observe mitzvahs. If somebody communicates that, then his children don't have much of a chance of carrying on in the tradition, because they'll say, you know what, my parents, my father, my mother could do that. They were able to overcome their desire to do whatever they wanted and to be loyal to the Almighty, but I'm not. And Moshe says, when a person chooses, he should do it b'simcha, and if he does it with happiness, that happiness will influence the generations that come. You will model behavior, and your children will see that behavior, and they will model that behavior as well. Because every day is election day. Every day we choose, and we don't just choose once. We choose over and over and over again. Did I do the right thing? And we have the opportunity to raise up our existence every time we make a choice. And the Torah is telling us that we're not just raising up our existence, we are raising up the existence of future generations every time we choose life. Have a good Shabbos and a Shana Tova.